Welcome to That Guy's a Maniac Podcast. You are listening to Kanzi11, and I am joined by Richie. Say hello.
Hello.
In this podcast, we talk about video game stuff from rarely the new stuff coming out, mostly thoughts, dreams, and hopes relating to the games we grew up with and played. Richie, where can you find the That Guy's a Maniac content?
So our content can be found on our blog, www.thatguys.co.uk. We can also be found with our social tag. Socials? On the socials?
On the socials.
On the socials.
You can find us on the socials?
On the socials, and our tag is at That Guy's a Maniac, all one word, lowercase. And of course, all of our quality broadcasting and written gibberings couldn't be brought to you unless we had sponsors to bring all of our creative content together. And this week, we are sponsored by the Cenarian Expedition for all your druidic needs, not to be confused with Cenarian Circle. Cheers, Cenarian Expedition.
Thanks, Cenarian Expedition. Could not do it without you. So let's just launch straight into it. We're going to have What Are You Playing?
Are you ever going to try the voice?
No. Maybe I was thinking actually about replaying Resident Evil 4 because it's been a while. It's probably the longest gap. And there was a lot of Resident Evil hype this week.
And of course there was the news about Resident Evil 4 is going to be delayed because there's arguments within the studio about its direction as well.
Resident Evil 4?
Yeah, the remake.
Oh, I didn't know there was a remake.
Yeah, so they, as soon as they did Resident Evil 3, they announced they were working on Resident Evil 4 remake. Remake, fucking hell. But yeah, so apparently there is arguments about the direction of it, and I can see that because people were talking about Resident Evil 3 and how like the big chunks missing. We even sort of made notes on that. I still don't particularly like the fact that Nemesis turned into a dog, but apparently creative difference, and I can imagine it because Resident Evil 4 was so different from any other game. It was way more arcadey. It was way more, it's like, yes, it was serious, but it had a bit of tongue-in-cheekness about it that was kind of missing from the other ones. Like, shoot the water a few times and you die from a big fish. And you only know that if you've played it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, that sort of shit. But there you go.
I'm still firmly, because of course you can't have any topical subject in or about video games without having to nail your colours to the mast. I'm firmly in the camp that it's not been long enough and doesn't really need remaking because with 2 and 3, you were still tank controls and pre-rendered backgrounds. Whereas a remake of 4, I don't,
still tank controls. 4 was still tank controls.
Reserve judgment, but weird. Anyway, Resident Evil, little Resident Evil sidebar there. Should we stay with Capcom?
Yeah, let's stay with Capcom. Let's go for it.
Okay. So what have we been playing? I guess anticipating.
We have briefly played the Monster Hunter demo.
Yeah, Monster Hunter Rise demo.
Oh, okay, whatever. Monster Hunter Rise demo. Fine.
And
right, so this is the first fucking time that I have played any Monster Hunter game at all.
Yeah.
So I, on your request, sort of said, you were just sort of saying, Richie, you should give this a go. Go on, give it a go. Give the demo a go. So I gave the demo a go, and I sat down and I installed it, which is very exciting to hear. But also I I had a little go at playing it. So I just I launched it, and there was an option to choose a mission, and I chose, I think, the easiest mission, just because obviously I'm not going to jump into the hardest one. And I chose a character. You get to choose a girl, and she's in different outfits. Or is it different girls?
No, I think it's the same. I think it's the same base character.
Okay,
but
so,
you choose your loadout basically.
Because she was singing at the start of the demo or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's two sisters. I don't think you play as them.
All right, okay, never mind then. Right, okay, so I played as a character. I chose the one that looked like she was a bride, because why not?
Yeah, that's your brand. That's your MO.
Yeah, total. Straight in. And yeah, I started running about. I found some functionality to do some sort of Spider-Man rope swinging, so I did that for a little bit. I thought that was fun. And then it was like, you should go and kill the big bad guy. So I started making my way towards the big arrow that was pointing where I went to go. I slid down a hill, and like, oh, that's fun. Slid down a hill, and I was being followed by a dog and I don't know, is it like a little pirate cat thing or something?
Yeah, Palico, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I was getting followed by them. I got into a couple of fights along the way, which seemed to go quite well. I hit things a few times and they died or they ran away. Then I got to the monster that I was hunting, hence the name of the game, I guess. So I went there, and then it got a little bit hard to play. Now, one thing I would say is, like, I was playing this quite blindly, didn't know most of the controls. I knew that I had two buttons. One was to hit lightly, and one was a stronger hit, and you could charge it up. That was very, very well explained at the start, you know. But I also have like a million other things on D-pad shortcuts, and there's other things that you could do. But as I was fighting this, I don't know, kind of a like weird giant lizard thing, not quite a dinosaur, but not quite. Anyway, it was it didn't go really well, I'll be honest. I felt like I was hitting it, but I was only chipping off tiny amounts of health, which seemed unlikely because the rest of the things were just sort of dying very quickly. So I started trying to do combos and do the charged hits and stuff like that, but I ended up getting really annoyed because things would happen where I would just end up like mounting the dog. That sounds really bad. Really bad. I would end up riding the dog. Again, doesn't sound great. Anyway, I ended up like riding on this dog, and I was annoyed because I couldn't hit things whilst I was riding on the dog, and I didn't even really mean to do it. And this happened quite a few times. I wasn't really sure if the buttons I was pressing were the right ones, and ultimately I just felt like I'm doing this and there's a lot of HUD. There's a radar, there's many different menu things in the bottom corner. There's another menu thing that's sort of got a tally of what you're doing. You've also got two other guys I assume you need to pay attention to for some reason, you know, your dog and the pirate cat. Yeah. And I was just like, and of course your own health, and then you've got this massive health bar for the monster that you're attacking, which really, like, there's like 7 or 8 bars, and I'm just like, what do any of these bars mean? None of this is clear. I was very, very, very much in there, just like, it felt like a spreadsheet over an action RPG. and the action RPG wasn't even playable because you just ended up riding a dog instead of attacking him. So my first impressions of the Monster Hunter series is I think I've missed out an awful lot, and I need to go back and play a fucking tutorial.
To preface that, you did just jump into a mission. There is although I will say, so I think it's still live. I think it's live until the end of the month. So it won't be live by the time you're listening to it, readers. Listen to this, and you get there's an easy mission, and then there's a hard mission where you kind of face the monster from the cover of the box. So each game kind of has a what do you call it, like a icon or an emblem creature. So this is the one for Monster Hunter Rise, and then there were 2 tutorials. So I played through the tutorials because it has been a hot minute since I played a mainline Monster Hunter game. So I played Try, and then it's one of those series where I really got into really I think Try's the best, which is a unique position, I think, or not many people liked it because it introduced swimming and people weren't happy with that.
Okay.
It did, people got really angry about the swimming.
Okay, I'm sure there's a good reason.
Yeah,
as being
ardent,
able to swim,
as ardent fans do, and I absolutely loved it. But it is one of those games where it will just eat your life if you let it, because there's not only heaps, you kind of play through the main story, and then you unlock extra missions on top of that, and extra hard missions, and then combo missions, and then there's events, and then there's all the online stuff, which is basically where the bulk of the game is, and it just demands you play it and play it and play it and play it, and there's rare drops and stuff like this. So I didn't pick up I can't remember what the one's called on the PlayStation 4 Monster Hunter World, maybe. I just appreciated it from afar. I thought I would love that game to death, but it's too big. I don't have room for a Monster Hunter.
You don't.
In my life.
You've got far too many dailies to do from your games from 2006.
Yeah, exactly, and Pokemon Cafe Mix. So I was interested. I watched Capcom have really been knocking it out of the park with these kind of mini events, I guess, or teaser events. So I'd watched through the Monster Hunter Rise one and got really excited about it. It looks familiar enough, but there are clearly some changes, particularly around the motion and the movement, which is why I hit the tutorial first. And I'd say that for a first-time player like yourself, the tutorial doesn't really help. It explains bits of the HUD, and it explains one of the changes since I last played Monster Hunter is you'd have
Swimming?
I don't think swimming's in it anymore.
Oh, no way.
Is you'd have lots of environment elements that you'd need to kind of farm to craft everything from your potions up to weapon components. And then in this, and you must have seen this when you go around. There's still stuff to do. So you can still sit and pick mushrooms, but then there's all these like dynamic, endemic animals. So you run past 3 glowing bugs, and they give you a little buff to your health or a little buff to something else. So I think a little bit quicker to get the ground running. I like playing with the bow gun, and even knowing Monster Hunter, having put lots of hours into some of the previous Monster Hunter games, I was really struggling with the controls and the kind of how to reload. And there was this new thing that I was doing where you press a button, you kind of shoot your ammo into the ground, and then it creates some AoE effect. So yeah, I mean, thanks for giving it a try. But I think it's very much for. I don't imagine it's going to make a huge number of new converts to the Monster Hunter series, right? I think it's more for people who know they like Monster Hunter and have played previous ones and be like, here's what it's going to feel like. It would be like if WoW released a demo, and of a character that's like, 20 hours in.
Yeah. That
and it gives you 4 quests. So you're like, what is this? What is this bar? Because and you're saying you weren't too sure if you were doing much damage to the monster. It might be that you just weren't pressing the right buttons or using the weapons to the maximum of your ability. But also they are kind of like, Monster Hunter is essentially a series of boss fights, so they are tough and they get much tougher. Because the bulk of your mission is attacking the kind of lead monster.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that was getting me was like there was definitely a health bar up the top.
Yeah,
one of them was happening or was moving when I hit it, and it was tiny chips, which I guess obviously it's a boss character. Maybe it was just that I had to chip away and do the dodge, chip away, do the dodge. Your typical, shenanigans. But nothing, it wasn't clear to me because there was a point where I thought I'd got it down to quite a lot of health had been taken off, and then it ran away. And then it was like, oh, right, I have to kill it again after catching it up. And like I'd already I'd lost a lot of health because I was just running in a dog in circles around it. But yeah.
No, so that's that's part of the beats of a hunt, if you like. So it seems with this one, unlike the one that I'm forgetting the name, World, the World had much more of there were much more mechanics about finding the monster you're wanting to hunt, and the demo doesn't give much of that away, but it felt like some of the older ones where you just run around a map, and eventually you'll bump into your target boss. And then once that fight starts, there's kind of the monster will have 2 or 3 modes,
phases, like, or something like that.
As the more damage you do, or sometimes they get enraged, sometimes they get exhausted and limp off, sometimes they call in minions, and then they move to another area. So that's the hunting side of it.
Right. Okay.
And normally in the games, you can either do things like you tag them with the paintball, which runs out after a while, but then you can see where they've gone without having to run around after them, and then you kind of coordinate with.
Well, I got another arrow come up, but as I ran, because I figured I was just chasing it, but as I ran, I pretty much aggroed every single other animal on the map, which didn't work out too well for me.
But other than that, I think it looked gorgeous. It looked beautiful, and the soundtrack is probably going to be a fantastic soundtrack. And I don't know. I'm tempted. So you might have to talk me down. Come whenever it's due out. So April, May.
I mean, yeah. Like I felt the Devil May Cries about it.
Oh really?
Well, I think. There's definitely the 3D action adventure in there, but whereas Devil May Cry you can pick up and play, but you won't master it, sort of thing. This was you need to know every fucking spreadsheet thing. It was nowhere near as accessible. I think accessibility is the main word that we're looking for.
No, I think that's completely fair, and I think it was always going to be a struggle. But I would say that when you play through a Monster Hunter game, obviously you start off with the shittest equipment and the simplest equipment, and you don't have much of the options, and it's very much that learning process. It's what I really like, much like other RPGs and MMOs, I guess, is as you're building up your gear, you'll start with these early kind of boss creatures. Well, your starting missions are like, kill 10 of these or harvest this much, and then as you start getting these monsters to fight, you'll struggle the first one, partly because your equipment's crap, and when you beat it, you carve it, and then you can start making armor that's based on that, but also you learn the monsters' movesets essentially, so their tails, and when to dodge, and when you can get in these hits, and when you can wind up your big charge attack. And your different gear really, really changes how you play the characters. So whether you're supposed to be rushing in to be doing quick damage, or if you're playing a ranged character. So yeah, there's a lot of nuance to it. So I think it was always going to be bit of a challenge to squeeze it into a, here you go, here's a demo we're going to launch you into. So yeah, I was really interested to see what your thoughts were as a complete Monster Hunter novice. And I imagined accessibility would be one of those issues.
Yes, very much so, I would say.
Yeah, because you got meters everywhere and menu icons and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think it tapped the D-pad and things happened. I was like, no, I don't know if I'm meant to do that. A key mechanic is managing your bars, right? So your health, but also your stamina. And for whatever reason, I just kept, in the middle of nowhere or harvesting a mushroom and just kept popping potions. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't even sure if the potions was the right one. Like, was I drinking like a buffing potion, or was it a healing potion, or can I drink the potion whilst I'm stuck on a dog and running round this thing? Yeah. Right. Okay. So that's something we have been playing.
Yeah.
As we have been playing. But Farley, what have you been playing?
Well, I've got a whole bunch of things. There's a bit of a narrative to it. So, my wife and I have been playing quite a few games together. And as I've mentioned a couple of times on the poddy, she doesn't play a huge number of games. The games she plays to death. And so I was looking at my here's incoming a hot bit from around 2000. I want to say 2000, maybe 2000, 2001. When did the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 come out?
The Xbox 360. Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 2006.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say. So here's a hot take from circa 2006. I was looking at my trophy list, as you do, and I just had this distinct feeling that I was kind of letting the side down. So the vast majority of the trophies on my account are from the games that my wife plays. So I was like, okay, where are the easy wins? And basically, it's a slippery slope into achievement hunting. So I've had a week of trying to achievement hunt and all the problems that come with achievement hunting. So first of all, I hopped on the PlayStation 3 because I inherited a PlayStation 3, and because I don't know, for me, because I didn't have that whole process of unboxing it and getting used to what everything. Setting it up and then getting the feel for what everything does. It's always felt like a system that wasn't really mine, if that makes any sense.
Oh man, don't worry, readers. He'll eventually tell us what he's been playing.
And so I just didn't have that familiarity around, and it was really the PlayStation 3, which was the first one that had achievements or trophies. And I never really paid much heed to them. So I was looking through this list, and everything's like at 5%, 10%. Sometimes, I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah,
and I've wrestled with this same thing as well. Go on.
And so I was like, okay, just going through them and saying, where is just an easy trophy that I can get today, and that number that no one else will see, especially on the PlayStation 3, goes up slightly. And I saw GTA 5 on the list, and I thought, it's been a hot minute since GTA 5. Had to look down, and there's all these ridiculous things that I'm not going to do. But then one of the achievements was to buy downtown cabs and run a private fair. So essentially to buy the taxi cab firm, and then do a mission where you a mission that you choose to do, which is you take someone from A to B. I thought that sounds doable, so loaded the game up, which. GTA takes forever, that loading bar to load up. And then I'm playing as one of the psychos. I can't remember his name. I'm in a plane. It's been a year probably since I've loaded it up. God knows what I was doing or where I was coming from. So then I crash land the plane because I couldn't remember how to put the landing gear down. and it was sort of a bit foreign. Found the downtown taxi place on my map, which was across the other side of the map. I was flying in the desert. Then I think I got into some fight, and then I ended up I died by crashing my plane. So I crashed it into bounced along the floor without the landing gear. And then I respawned in the hospital, and it's the hospital that's in the middle of nowhere, and there's no traffic around. So then I was running around looking for a car. Right. Eventually, you get a car, hightail it all the way across town, with a couple of incidents and police run-ins and pedestrian deaths, etc. Get to the taxi place, run up to the front of it, and it says, this character cannot buy this property. I was like, oh, right, yeah, because you've got 3 characters. Yeah. Switch to one of the other characters, Michael, I think it is. Make my way to downtown cabs. He was having an argument with his wife or something. He also can't buy it, so fuck. Okay, 3rd time lucky. Hop to Travis. He's sitting in his house up in the hills. Jump on a bike outside. Make it all the way to downtown cabs. And I think downtown cabs cost something like $200,000 to buy. And I had $403 as Travis. Yeah. So then I was like, well, that's not going to happen. How do I get money? How do I get rich quick? That would have been involved putting together a heist, doing missions, and that just wasn't happening. So I'm just gonna bash through some what you're playing. So off the back of that, I was like, okay, GTA 5, that's not happening. Hopped over to the PlayStation 4 and had a look at the games, which I had very few trophies. And one of those, a while back, I had a real nostalgia for all the Games Workshop, like Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
And there's a big sale on, and all the I don't think there's that many standout Games Workshop games. They're all middling or worse. But I picked up.
They're generally well received by fans of, Warhammer and things.
Yeah. I think it's
because it's a niche audience.
Well, there's, and I know this doesn't really make sense because all the different games, and there's hundreds of. I was surprised actually when I started looking into it how many there are, because there are things like Space Hulk, which are a digital version of the board game, which looks very pretty, through to Vermintide, which it's kind of like a horde killing MMO, and then through to Blood Bowl, which is I think one of the better games that has huge followings and streamers and stuff like that. But my feeling with all of them is they, and I'm going to bring back a term that I use, they just feel very arcadey. There's just like a lack of depth and polish to them. So one of the games that I picked up was Space Hulk Deathwing, which is a first-person shooter based around Terminators and Gene Stealers because it looked cool. But it's just stuff like it kind of loads up and it gives you the landing screen doesn't really feel like a proper landing screen. There's no like nice opening cutscene. It feels like you've half walked into a game that they assume it just doesn't. I don't know. I can't describe it very well. There's this feel to it. It's like, there's a bit of a kind of lightness, and it's really hard to stick with them. Anyway, Space Hulk Deathwing had hardly any achievements, made no progress on it whatsoever. So I loaded that up and played that for a bit until I remembered why I stopped playing it, because it's just not very compelling. But looking down the achievement list, right, I don't know if you've even heard of Space Hulk Deathwing before today.
I have no idea.
Okay. A number of the achievements, and this is where the 2007 stuff comes from, are like get 1,111 assists in multiplayer. Beat this many blah 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 in multiplayer. Do you know how many people are playing Space Hulk Deathwing on the PlayStation 4 multiplayer at the moment?
One?
None. I couldn't find a game. I was looking, so I was like, maybe I can get some, cheap achievos here, even though they're all ridiculously high numbers, and I'm not particularly good at the game, and I can't really remember the controls. So that's complaint number one is multiplayer achievements. There's something optimistic about the fact that loads of people are gonna put hours and hours into multiplayer to pick up half these achievements for this game. And then for me, that kind of put me off. And then lastly, and I will get back to you. I picked up Ubisoft games are nice for picking up trophies and achievements. They're often kind of straightforward and by the numbers.
Well, they had like famously some like really crazy achievements. I think one of the most famous ones on like PS3 360 was, I think Ubisoft did the Avatar one, which had 4 achievements, and each was worth 250. This is obviously Xbox rather than things, and it was just basically you had to do 4 combos, and it was just like a big Chivo horror game. I
remember, what was it? Back when achievement hunting was all the rage. It was something like there was a free game called Doritos Dash.
Yep.
That was supposedly the easiest game to get. However many.
It's 250.
Gamer
you only
points
get like a quarter from these little games. Yeah.
And you basically could play one round. Do this, do that, and So there are some of these games which have a high number of downloads. So I've been playing Starlink again. On the PlayStation 4. I thought, great, I'm halfway through that. I can pick up some Chivos. I think I was a couple away from platinum it. Tried to mix up the trophies and achievement lingo. And then 2 of them are in co-op. Do this and do that. I don't have a second controller for the PlayStation 4. And then you start going to the bad place of, is it worth £60?
Yes, exactly.
For me to have a backup controller, but also to be the saddest man in the world for that 10 minutes, where I'm sitting with a controller on each knee, contriving these scenarios where I heal up my buddy, bling, and take down park one of them a million miles away and then take down a boss, bling. But until I don't know, some people, our readers will probably be in one of 2 camps, right? They'll be like, it's just a fake achievement thing, what you're worried about, and people will be like, oh yeah, that is really annoying, because without those 2, you can't, I can't platinum that game, even though I have everything else, and it would be trivial to kind of accomplish. And I understand why there isn't, but I wish there was a way of like, no, I'm not interested in, I'm not going to play it multiplayer. Some kind of setting which would never show me my multiplayer trophies or my co-op trophies or my DLC trophies. Because there are a couple of games. What was the free Resident Evil game you got with Resident Evil 3 that we played for 2 seconds?
Oh, the one where you're 5 people and you've got to get
it's like asymmetric gameplay.
It was Among Us before Among Us.
But didn't look as good.
Yeah. Can't remember off the top of my head.
They insist. Me neither. Anyway, because I touched that, or because you get it when you download Resident Evil 3 for nothing, it just sits on your list. Right down at the bottom of the list with probably 1 trophy, which is you bothered to load up this game, and there's no way I can ever get it off or get rid of it, and it bugs me. So there we go. That's my circa 2007 Chivo hunting rants.
Yeah, I've been there before. I've got my 360. I never got an Xbox One. And I haven't upgraded, and I don't really have any desire to, but I still have so many games that I still need to in theory 1000 or platinum, whatever you want to call it. But I'm not gonna. And in fact, I have ones on my list that would trigger you something rotten. Like, I have Lego Batman 2. I have one achievement left. One achievement. And that is just to play as King Gorilla and climb up Gotham Tower with a female character to do the King Kong thing.
Yeah.
That'll take me 2 minutes to do. I'm not doing it. It's just like... But I think one of the things that makes it easier for me to stop caring about achievements, it's nice when they pop up and things like that, is owning more than one platform. Because the moment you move away from playing your PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 3 and play your Switch, you are then now utilising your time to not get trophies. So if you can get past that, you can get past not having all the trophies on a certain system. And it's the same, it's the same for like the PC as well. Like Steam has its trophies as well.
Yeah.
So it has exactly the same thing, and it pops up. It's nice. It's great, and it's just like, am I going to get all of these? No. And the craziest thing is, Steam actually gives you tangible rewards for your what's it called, the trophies as well. You get the cards for the games. You can then use these cards to like get backgrounds, and they're like actually doing better things now. You get this extra currency, which you can use to buy icons and pimp your profile and stuff like that. Which is actually like, this is good. This is a good reason to get your achievements. Am I gonna do it? No. I think there's a flip side to that though, with particularly with multi platform games. So some of the kind of multi-platform games I've been picking up on the Switch recently, and the games that you love and put loads of time into, is like, I'm missing out on trophies which I've earned, right? If I was playing this on another platform, I would have got all those. Yes, I think it works. It works both ways, and obviously everyone has their internal rationale. So there are some. When I was looking down all the Resident Evil games, there are some which like beat the game without opening the item box. I'm just like, I'm not. That's a weekend job, right? Sitting there with a navigator or a guide. No, I'm not interested. So my tolerance isn't that's gonna bug me. So I'm gonna really break how you play a game or play it completely differently just to get this one achievement. I have this kind of medium bar somewhere, which is like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, no, and the other thing is, like, I own quite a few games specifically on 360 that I also own for the Steam versions of, and it's just like, am I gonna go through and get all those achievements again? No, really, really, really not gonna do that. Like, it's nice because they even like retrofit a lot of the achievements back in. Yeah. If there was one, if there was one central place for it, then fine. But like, because it's on each system, and it suddenly becomes, as you realise, a triggering trap to try and keep you on that system. You're just like, you know what, I don't care enough anymore. And I mean, it's like, even if the game says that I should do all of these things, and you can feel like that getting every single trophy in there means that you've actually physically beaten the game, and it's just like, according to who? The people that made it? Yeah. Well, great, good for them.
We're 10 years past the time when you might be able to, when people were actually looking at each other's, so there was an element of kind of bragging rights about it, but no one cares anymore, so it really is just that whatever's going on in your own mind and your own satisfaction. I mean, my only achievement that I am still proud of to this day is probably the Rock Band one, the Endless Set List.
Oh yeah. because you literally have to sit down for, I think it's 8 hours, and play through every single one of the songs from start to finish with everybody on each instrument.
Yeah.
So it was like 4 of us drinking a lot and just playing this fucking game as much as possible. And I opted to play blooming guitar on hard. It's just like, it's stupid. So stupid, you know, because you're just giving yourself this ridiculous cramp for 8 hours of playing plastic guitar. But at the same time, I did it. I did the endless set list, you know, start to finish. I think that's quite cool.
I don't think that would pass muster these days, would it? You know, with them. I don't know if there are rules or suggestions, but games reminding you, like, oh, you've been playing for an hour. Maybe it's time to take a break. Whether they'd be, you know,
you could pause it.
Oh, okay.
At any point in the game, you can pause it.
Okay.
So that's fine. And I think we actually did stop to eat food. So I think that's quite fair. But yeah, you can pause it. But once you start the endless set list, you're going from start to finish. But you then need to coordinate a pause. Like, everybody good? Right, we're pausing.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Or just fix yourself up with a catheter.
Yeah, it's not reasonable to think that nobody can piss for 8 hours either, you know.
Anyway, that's my mild. It's been fun because it's made me pick up games that I perhaps wouldn't have done otherwise or haven't played for a while. But that's my minor kind of trophy hunting. What are you playing segment? What are you playing?
Well, I suppose one last big major thing that I have been playing, and certainly should be achievement ridden, is World of Warcraft Classic.
Hey.
So, on previous podcasts, I have mentioned this, that we are in the end game of World of Warcraft Classic, and we are now, you know, we're on the final raid. And the other day there, I was part of a 40-man group that has killed the final boss, Kel'Thuzad. I have completed WoW.
Did the little Chivo pop up?
Yeah.
Bling! You've completed it. Beat WoW.
Yeah. Lost your girlfriend. No. No. There's no achievement. There is achievements later on in one of the expansions. They brought them in, and that like World of Warcraft plus achievements is a fucking brutal thing. Those are things you do not want to have because they're like literally. There was a meta for a little while that you could only get into certain raids if you showed achievements or linked ones that you'd got and things like that one.
Okay, yeah.
But downed Kel'Thuzad, which was really good. That's something, you know, that, what was it, 0.1% of the WoW community did in 2005. Now most people are doing it. I'm going through collecting tier 3 on my Paladin, which is a very, very good looking set. You can Google it whilst we are speaking.
Talk us through the look in classic Richie style.
Talk us through the look. Okay.
Talk us through the look.
So, first of all, we're going to talk functionality wise. This set is intended for healing, which is the only Paladin set that actually does healing. Well, tier 1 kind of did, but it was like some of its set bonuses just don't actually even work. They don't do anything. They say they're going to do it, but they don't do it. So tier 1, just kind of, I'm crossing off that list entirely. Also, the combined healing that you get from tier 1, as in all of the items and your bonuses and things like that, is less than one blue item, i.e. not epic, that you can just get from a dungeon, a level 60 dungeon. So it is a really, really bad tier. So it's best not to think about tier 1 in that fact, in that sort of vein. Tier 2 has spell power all over it. Spell power does nothing Well, it does, but it is. All of the paladin spells have really bad coefficients. Somebody really hated paladins in World of Warcraft Classic time. And then tier 2.5 is Ret, and it actually has some good stats on it. But Ret is Ret. You know, it's never going to be as good as anything. Absolutely anything. And then tier 3 is one of the most iconic, best looking sets. Short of tier 2. Tier 2 is a very, very, very pretty set, don't get me wrong. But tier 3 is really quite cool. It's all silver. It has little jewels, little blue jewels encrusted all over it. It has these sharp shoulders that sort of point out. It shows off a little midriff as well. And it has a cool winged helmet and bluey glow eyes as well. It's very, very... It's very paladin-y. I like it. I dig it. So far I have the chest and a couple other pieces that are there. But yeah, I will be collecting more of that. And once I get 8 out of 8, I will be a happy bunny. But yes... tier 3 collections. Along with that, there are other really, really iconic items within the Naxxramas the loot tables, I guess. One of them, of course, is the Corrupted Ashbringer, which is the Ashbringer, but it's like medieval, which is a really cool looking sword. It is pretty much only paladins that want it. I have already stated how much I want that one. That being said, I also managed to get a spell power mace the other day there. Two-handed one, the Maul of the Redeemed Crusader, which is a big, funky looking, evil, spiky thing. And immediately I put an unholy enchant on it. Maybe I'll get you to tweet that one out, Farley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff to get in there, and I mean, everybody's all wanting to collect their tier 3 looks. They're all really good for every single character. I was very, very happy to get the chest. The chest comes from a boss called the Four Horsemen. And the Four Horsemen is weird. It's a harder fight than the final fights in the game. The Four Horsemen is an amazing fight to be a part of, because all it involves is solid coordination and solid rotations as well. It's really, really nuts, because there are 4 horsemen. The name gives it away. Yeah. And they need, all 4 of them need to be tanked as far away from each other as possible. They can't move out of these corners. And you can only fight each one for a certain amount of time, because they put a little debuff on you, a mark as it's called. And then once you get 3 marks, if you get any more than that, you're likely to die. So you want to get those 3 marks, and then you move on to the next one, and then you move on to the next one after another 3 marks, and then you just got to keep that. And this is from a healing perspective. Like, the DPS perspective is very, very different as well. You have to fight. Oh god. Anyway, from the healing perspective, you basically just need to keep rotating at 3. Once one of the horsemen dies, it's not dead. A ghost of it continues to give out the marks as well. So you've got to keep this rotation up. There is one tiny little safe zone which you go back to. So that basically, rather than going back to another dead boss character that's still causing these marks, you go to the safe zone instead, and then you continue your rotation. And you just got to keep doing that and keep that going round and round and round. But of course, each one of those 4 horsemen has their own evil, horrible mechanics as well. So you have to sort of approach each one differently. You know, one of them you have to all get really, really close because he's going to drop a meteor, and that if anyone's far away, the damage gets split between the closest 2 people. And yeah, things like that. And there's another one which just does void zones under you, which basically means don't stand in the fucking evil black circle underneath you, otherwise you lose 75% of your health and mana, which is not something you want to do. There's another one which has, and this is the most brutal one actually, which has a holy wrath spell, which basically it causes a chain effect. So if he chains to you and someone is within 10 yards of you, it'll chain to them, which basically means he can hit the entire raid. But the best part is, each time it chains, it doubles in its attack. So it's doubling the damage it does. And we wiped once, and we ended up with someone who was taking millions of damage. When in fact our health pool is not more than 6,000 or 7,000. So it was pretty brutal. It was bad. But these, and it was just learning that mechanic, and we're still, we're by far perfect on it, still learning, and that's what's really cool. That being said, I really, really have to doing that in 2005 with some people on dial-up, without proper voice chat, without any of the add-ons, without YouTube even existing to, give you guides, it's amazing. That is way more of an achievement than what we've done today, and it is a real testament to, is WoW Classic an easy game now? And yes, it is, because we've got so much knowledge. Everything is so much. There are so many emergent metas. I've talked about this before. Because everybody is able to just sort of, share that knowledge and share the best strategies. There's already videos of how to cheese some of the bosses in Naxxramas as well. There's a very famous one, Hagen, and he is famous for what's called the safety dance. So basically, he has a phase where the floor splashes up acid, and you will die immediately if you get hit by it. So everybody has to move sort of in sync, and it's sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it goes back the way. So you have to run in the only place that the acid isn't being splashed. So that, it's kind of like doing this dance until you're able to then attack him again, and that's quite famous. But playing that with any kind of lag, you're just like, wow, just what the hell would you do? But now there's videos of people, and this is so crazy. You don't even need to. If one person stands right on the corner of the platform here and everybody else stands there, you don't even need to get hit by the splashes. You're just like, wow. Right, okay, so somebody found that out, and so it's pointless to even bother with it, so you just cheese through these, you can cheese through these bosses. That being said, our guild is not choosing the cheesing methods. Just play it properly, enjoy the mechanics, otherwise, where's the fun, and that's the thing. But also, on top of us downing Kel'Thuzad, we actually had a quite fun event, because it was going to be the first time that we were doing it. We had left 2 bosses for this raid night, and that was Sapphiron and Kel'Thuzad. But that meant that we had loads of time left after we killed them. So the days preceding the Kel'Thuzad kill, we there had been a little bit of intrigue in the guild and on our Discord because a person called Secret Man had turned up, and he had a secret mission for us all. And it was quite fun because he was just sort of turning up during the day, and he was saying, like, you must get this grey item and then take it here and give it to that person. And there was intrigue, and there was, you can trust this person, but you can't trust this person. So everybody was like, ooh, what's happening? Who's this? And who's this extra person? And we had, like, other people sort of turning up with a person called the Navigator, and you're just like, what's happening here? And, but ultimately what this ended up being was everybody from the raid made a level 1 gnome character, and we did a run all the way through to Orgrimmar, and had to do some RP events. It was great fun, really, really good. Like, they'd even been scripted, so the officers had all been pulled in to sort of talk about this, and they'd done their own little bit and a little bit of chat and stuff like that. It was great fun, and like, that's that sort of shit, you know. It's we are nearing like the end of WoW Classic. What happens next, we don't know. Is it going to be WoW TBC? Very likely, but we, you know, TBC Classic, yeah, possibly. Yeah, just having that amount of banter, the fact that we have killed the final character in the game, yet we still want to continue playing and getting tier 3 and getting new items, and indeed having a stupid gnome run. It just goes to show, you know, like, that's the way this game was meant to be played, with little communities and stuff like that. Great fun, and what a way to sort of like celebrate that as well. You know? Yeah. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. That's what I've been doing. And it's, I mean, the other thing with Nax is, like, it's very consume heavy as well. So you have to do a lot of farming. So you do spend a little bit more time than you expect playing it, just because, like, right, gotta get some more shadow protection potions for the bad guys and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm going to shut up now. World of Warcraft is a thing, and yeah, what else have you been playing, Farley?
The other thing I've been playing since we last did a What Are You Playing is I had a itch for a Warriors type game. So have you ever played Dynasty Warriors?
Yeah, in fact, we played one for a little while on the PS2.
Yeah.
And I have Warriors Dynasty, I think, on the 360.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dynasty Warriors is famously a very Marmite game. I think some people just don't seem to like it or get it, and then other people absolutely swear by them.
Dynasty Warriors 6, that's the one I have, sorry. I don't know why, for some reason when you call it a Warriors game, I was thinking, I've got one that's called Dynasty, so I thought it was kind of like Monster Hunter Rise or Monster Hunter World or whatever. Warriors Dynasty.
No, they're different.
But I also played One Piece. I forget what it's called, but yeah, it's just basically a Warriors game straight through. Yeah, go on.
So yeah, I just had the itch to be destroying armies of men on maps and running around and doing big showy, ridiculous attacks. So I hopped onto Fire Emblem Warriors, which I think I maybe talked about before. That game, and I think all the recent Warriors games, particularly the licensed ones, are too big. They are. There's just so much to do. So with Fire Emblem Warriors, it brings together all your favorite characters from across the Fire Emblem series.
They're all the same character, are they not?
There's a no. You've got.
I'm just basing this on Smash.
You've got the blue guy, and you got the blue head guy who wears a crown. and then you've got the yellow-haired guy, and then you've got
his
various-
daughter, which is also a guy as well, or something like that.
who's also got blue hair, and sometimes uses the other guy with the blue hair's name, even though they're not related.
And you've got your big-titted friend as well.
And then you've got your 6-year-old looking dragon transforming ladies, and then your weird witches, and then your buxom mentalists. So I was... There's a story mode which, contrives some old portals from different dimensions. All these different characters are there, which is fine. But then it has this thing called history mode, which is... basically, you kind of jump into these pixel world maps that have some of the story beats from all the different Fire Emblems, and they limit the characters you can use initially. And there's like 20 of those, and each of those will take you tens of hours. I think.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah, even more if you want to. There's.
Get all the achievements in it.
Yeah, well, there's this picture, this tiled picture that you can make. So it will, on certain missions, there'll be like a little scroll or 2 little scrolls. And so if you kill 1,000 guys, then this merchant pops up. So you'll be in the middle of a mission, be whatever, protecting this area or pushing north or defeating this captain, and you have to try and get one of your teammates to run to the shop before they disappear to get this item. And then some missions will have 2 of those. You have to replay the mission after you've got the first scroll, and it will be a higher barrier to get it. So it'll be, kill this rally messenger spawns in this distance into the game, and you have to get to them before they reach this other character, and then the shop will spawn. Then you have to get the character to get to the shop and buy it, and then beat the mission. So it can be a bit I've been playing it solo, so it can be a bit frantic, and I think that I had that itch, and then that itch is very much gone, because actually it's quite nice to play a game where you're not managing 5 characters at once, keeping an eye on the map, and then this thing happens. But that got me in the mood for having a look at some of the other Warriors games that are out at the Switch, on the Switch and PlayStation 4. And there was a demo for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. Now, I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast. Famously, I have no time for the Zelda series at all. They've just
That's
never.
because you won't let us do a blooming Zelda podcast. No time for it, man.
Yeah, I got no time for it. Whatever. It just didn't grab me. So whenever Ocarina of Time tops out these lists, I'm like, nah. I've tried with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. It's just something about the setting and the character. I think the one that I've put the most time into is Four Swords, which I did like. Which has probably got Zelda fans just screaming at me. But I thought, so I downloaded this demo. The demo for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity is really generous. You know how some demos are super stingy? It'll be like, oh, here's half a mission, and if you want to play the rest, so you can play through. I think it's 2 missions, 3 challenges, but the world map starts opening up. There are shops to go through, and you can kind of replay things. You can level up, so it does feel like a genuine, here's just a chunk of the game. And it's interesting because it's different to the Warriors games that I played and different to Fire Emblem. So I think I wouldn't know because I've not played Breath of the Wild. It really is more of a fusion between the Warriors games, which is you're just like hot knife through butter through hundreds of people. Right. You don't really have to think about it too much, and all the time your numbers are going up and gears going up and levels going up. But this one it really seems to play with the mechanics from the Zelda games. And it feels a bit lighter for it. So it does feel it feels like you're a slightly warm knife through hot butter rather than just going straight through.
Right. Okay. Now you were saying that you played as a character and you had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
Who
So it
is
gives
this
you-
character? She's wearing purple.
Yeah, it gives you 3 characters, so you end up with Zelda, Link, and then I think, is it Tetra? Is that right? Does that make sense?
Tetra, no. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know who they included in that.
Okay.
Well, was it Hyrule Warriors? Yeah.
Yeah, Age of Calamity.
Age of Calamity, yeah.
So the game itself is, because this tickles my brain. It's sort of a sequel to Hyrule Warriors, but not because it tells its own story, which is a prequel, a canon, a dimension spin-off to Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild, yeah.
Yeah. Set 1,000 years before, or something like that. So anyway, the second character you get, and I couldn't work out what she was doing. So when you're with Link, you're smashing through people with a sword, and you're throwing bombs, and you're using your shield, and occasionally you pick up, use the magnetic thing. And then with her, it was like, press one of your attacks is you put symbols around, and then you do something with the symbols, and then I just couldn't work out. Visually, there's a lot going on in these games. I couldn't work out. I mean, people dying, fair enough. I just had no idea, because I don't know the character and the mechanics of Breath of the Wild, what she was actually doing. But it was interesting that there were just from those 2 characters alone, and I gather you collect more. They're very different play styles and different ways of fighting. Whereas in the other Warriors games that I played, it doesn't actually matter if you're playing as the bow guy or the lance lady or the
you're ultimately just rattling X.
Punch.
Yeah.
You're doing your lights, you're doing your bigs, and then you're hitting the combo button at the end.
So just quickly, it's Impa.
Impa, there we go.
Yeah.
Some silly name of that. Yeah, I had no idea. And she's using and then Zelda's using like an iPad, which you explained to me is kind of a
it's
key.
the whole thing in Breath of the Wild. You get an iPad, you take selfies.
Yeah,
that is all Breath of the Wild is, incidentally.
Well, yeah. Well, she just seems to be running around with an iPad, like ordering things. Oh, who is it? It's a flashback to another game. There's a game where somebody's attacks are using a mobile phone to order things.
Ooh.
I have a feeling it's a beat 'em up. No.
It does sound like a character in one of these crazy EX plus alpha something core games.
Yeah. Oh my god, you know what it is? It's that Me Zombie game.
Me Zombie game.
The Street Pass games on the 3DS.
Yeah.
And
okay.
you get a mobile phone and you order Amazon packages and they drop on the zombies. Anyway, that's an aside. So yeah, it seems quite even with the Zelda trappings, it seemed quite interesting. Again, I gather it's huge. It's huge. But yeah, I like the way that it was a bit different, and the mission structures from the 2 and a bit that it gives you to play through were very different. So yeah, it really does feel like a fusion between a Warriors game and something a bit more open worldy, which I thought was cool. So yeah, if you're at all interested in Warriors or Legend of Zelda and you haven't, I'd give Hyrule Warriors a whirl. The Age of Calamity demo a whirl.
Yeah, I really should. I like Breath of the Wild. It's one of these ones where let's save it for the Zelda podcast. It'll never happen.
It'll just be you talking and me occasionally going, "Heh, heh." I just couldn't get over going, "Heh, heh," every single game.
Listen, or you could just go over your routine hot minutes and phenomenals all the way through it.
I gave Twilight Princess. Me and a friend gave Twilight Princess a honest crack, and it was just so boring, but also freaky.
That little chicken thing with the human face.
Baby's faces everywhere.
Yeah.
So what is this? It felt like I'd walked into somebody's sexual fantasy that I didn't quite understand. Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and Link's kicking about in a toga.
Yeah. But it did, just from playing
Well,
that
he
demo.
always does, actually.
Yeah, exactly. I did end up looking up how the plots tie in to it, because some people were praising it because Zelda is essentially the main character in that game. And they bothered with a really nice story that kind of really fits in. There were 14,000 Reddit posts about whether it's canon or not. But yeah, I thought rather than
game are you talking about? Twilight Princess or?
No, sorry, Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, and I think there was talk of that, or the little snippets that we've seen for Breath of the Wild 2 is including Zelda more. And to be honest, even in Breath of the Wild, she was less of a vulnerable princess that needed saving, which is tired.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I always. Do you remember the TV series Drawn Together?
I do, yeah. God,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it for being so politically incorrect, and its equivalent today is probably Big Mouth on Netflix. But Drawn Together back then, it was of its time, which was everything was reality TV show. You had reality cooking shows, you had Big Brothers, everybody was in a house and they would have a point where they would sit in a chair and they would talk about the rest of the house, and that is a cartoon version of it, and it was so much fun. But one of the characters, I think it was Lysander his name was, and he was a effeminate guy who was on a never-ending quest to save his girlfriend, and it was just the best character ever. It was just based on Link, and it was just so funny. Her reactions to him not turning up, and of course coming out as well. I love that series so much. I don't think it works in today's climate, but yeah, it was so funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. So just from the few story bits that you get, and of course it could change after that. Link is just, he's just basically, he's just the soldier who's in your company, and the game very much seems to focus around Zelda and Tetra Pak or whatever her name is.
Tetra Pak. Impa.
There you go. One of those silly names. So yeah, that was my little foray into Warriors. But then because myself and my brother put loads of times into Dynasty Warriors 3. So like, I wonder where Dynasty Warriors is at the moment. I think it's on 8.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I think it's something like, Dynasty Warriors 8 is the 472nd entry into the series because there's been various EX Legends and blah blah blah.
Yeah. I've got Dynasty Warriors 6 here, and it was from 2008.
Yeah,
it feels like they must have done.
Yeah, maybe we're on 8 or 9. But it got me because of all these
heavy box. I've just had a quick look into it. And the manual in it, fucking hell, it's a book.
Yeah. It lists the names of every single NPC character that you destroy.
Yeah, there's a lot of pictures, and oh my god, it's separated into different sections. Oh, fucking hell. Right. Sorry, go on.
But it got me. I've always been interested in the fact, because it's a hugely popular game series, but it's based on this Three Kingdoms Chinese epic.
Yeah.
And then that ended up with me watching YouTube videos of people explaining who all the characters are, and then ultimately, so starting from the point of I really want to play some Warriors games, I end up ordering the 4-volume Three Kingdoms translation, and I've started reading that.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's kind of epic, but very fast paced. So at one point early in the book, so there's thousands of pages in this 4-volume thing, but very early on in the book, it kind of sets up for like a Spartans type situation, right? There's this army of thousands descending on this army of 500, but then by the end of the paragraph, it's like, and then these two characters, they just rode up to this two character, and then they cut them in half, and then they will. So because it rolls so much of history into these 4 volumes, it's very, very fast paced, but doesn't really take any time to discuss anything. Interesting to be reading, and probably the reverse way around to doing it, because as these and there's thousands of characters in this thing that pop up, disappear, die, get dismembered, go away forever, as they pop up in the translation of the book, I'm like, oh yeah, I know what that guy looks like.
Yeah.
He's the guy who carries the double rings and has this special move. Yeah.
So whilst you were talking there, I just had a quick look on Steam, and we're on actually Dynasty Warriors 9.
Okay.
One thing I kind of laughed when I was typing it as well, which was it's kind of spelt Dynasty. Yeah, it's like a nasty game. Dynasty, you bad man. But yeah, Dynasty Warriors 9 has got very, very bad reviews. And yeah, it looks very much like, it's by Koei Temco.
Yeah.
It looks very much like Dead or Alive has taken over everything, because there is now schoolgirl outfits, and oh my god, like there seems to be a lot of money on there. Here we go. All 8 season passes is £53.
Oh.
Yeah, and the main game. Oh, the main game's free. Oh, no, that's a trial.
Well,
no, it's a trial. There's a trial. Never mind.
Okay.
So yeah, so 50. No, God. Right. So the complete edition is £75 for Dynasty Warriors 9.
Man.
And it's generally considered to be bad, mostly negative. I'm guessing because it's expensive. Yeah. There you go.
Although it's probably, well, if other Warriors games or anything go by, if you like that kind of gameplay, you probably get your money's worth for £75, because it just never ends. On and on and on.
Yeah.
Missions and missions and modes and modes and missions. Yeah. I pulled up. There is a table of badges in Fire Emblem Warriors, which is your achievement type things, and thoroughly depressed myself. I'm not going to get all of those. There's a badge for all those pictures I talked about, where you have to do those missions and sometimes do them twice to get the little squares which make up a picture. There's a badge for completing all the pictures, which is I think there's something like 30 different pictures, which is hundreds of hours, thousands of hours for that badge. So yeah, we'll not be getting all of those, but I appreciate that content's there, and I just don't know. Maybe there are people out there who their consoles are just the Warriors machine, and that's the only game they play, and they do they are sitting around going like, oh geez, when are they going to release the next mission pack, because I've completed all 10,000 hours of Fire Emblem Warriors.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's bound to be a thing.
Yeah, Dynasty Warriors series Wales, write in. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh dear. Right. Okay. So Farley, I heard that guy's a maniac.
Why did he bite me?